Welcome everyone to our first AMA in the year 2023. I'm really excited. We have a lot of updates to share. It's been a couple of weeks or probably more than a month since our last AMA, and the team has been very busy with a lot of updates internally. So, kind of want to fill you guys in a little bit on that and just also talk about kind of our progress so far and where we've been. We recently released a post in the UnUniFi year in review post, posting it in general chat again, so we can kind of take a look at kind of all these different milestones that have been completed throughout 2022. I think this is something that's, while it looks very short, because we kind of laid it out all on one graphic, it's actually really amazing to kind of look at all these different milestones that have been completed. And I think it kind of gives us a little bit of insight into what to expect for the upcoming year as well. Now, when we kind of start, right, when we look at this idea for like, okay, what are major milestones that we're going to be hitting? Uh, Back in 2022, if you go back to, for example, May, when we launched mainnet, a lot of testnet participants, right? I don't think that we could say that they would have expected this much progress, right? And when I say progress, I'm talking about platform progress, development of the actual tools and resources that have come to market, but also just major milestones for UnUniFi protocol overall, right? Think like if we think about all of these different little steps and put them together, it's actually really amazing, right? Not only were we able to get approximately just about 20,000 testnet participants, but we also were able to complete the successful token airdrop for the testnet participants, right? We also were able to distribute commemorative NFTs to, I believe it was over 5,500 NFTs issued as well, right? On top of that, we revamped the community program, initiated a moderator program. I don't know if everyone here remembers, but when we first launched on that Crew 3 program, with the new kind of community initiative and being able to claim and request, uh, we were the seventh largest project on the Crew 3 platform, which is huge. And then from there, we went on to announce several major partnerships, right? And a lot of the partnerships that were announced, right, are long-term partnerships. I use that phrase long-term partnership specifically because it speaks to the longevity for what we aim to achieve here at UnUniFi. And I want you guys to keep that in mind as we kind of take a look again at this bigger picture, right? I mean, in crypto and especially in the like Web3 space, in the NFT space, time just kind of flies by, right? 1 month feels like a year, and a year feels even longer, right? And sometimes when you have to wait a month or so for kind of these milestones to be achieved, it might feel like it's a really long time. But if you look at any major successful company, 1 year is actually a really short amount of time to deliver a successful company. It's nobody has done anything overnight, right? When we look at these kind of giant protocols that are in crypto now, right, or the really large, the well-known companies, like for example, in general chat, type of company that pops into your mind, one that's really popular, a crypto company that you think about. It's really popular. Um, Odds are that these companies had been working for multiple years to achieve the status that they have now. So when we go back and we talk a little bit about anybody, let's see, anybody chat in general chat, no chats. All right, that's fine. I'll give you an example. Let's take a look at OpenSea. OpenSea came out in 2017. 2017. So imagine you are there in December 2017 when OpenSea was founded. And you had to wait 1 year, 2 years, 3, 4, 5 years later. That might feel like a really long time and a huge amount of time, right? By year 2018, you can kind of I can understand how some people who are impatient would be like, oh, what's taking so long? But look at the status that any successful Web3 or NFT or DeFi based company has. And you'll see that they've been building for years, right? UniSwap was started in 2018, right? UniSwap is one of the, or if not one of the largest by volume overall day to day, right? If we look at daily Uniswap volume, the average 24-hour volume, let's see here, is over 46% of the total decentralized exchange trading volume in the entire crypto market. On average, $50 million in volume is traded every 24 hours on Uniswap. And that protocol was started in 2018. And it was started with a $100,000 grant. So 2018 with $100,000 to build the Dex. Cryptani says, when will PoC V2 start? That's what people want to know. LOL. Um, we'll get to that in a second. I don't know what people. So far you're the only one who has asked that question during this AMA. But yeah, we'll talk about it. Don't worry. Thank you, Cryptani, for your question. So when we talk about timelines, right, there is something very important to understand on building with the larger perspective in mind. And this is building from the company perspective, building a successful and sustainable company. So now we go back to our recap, right, our year in review for 2022, and we know that we just closed our seed funding round where we raised $1.5 million. And this was led by GCC, right? Funny enough, GCC was one of the original investors in OpenSea. So they know a thing or two about NFTs and DeFi, right? And so you can see what I'm saying is that when we look at these milestones, right, our kind of our year in review in 2022, these updates were huge, right? The reason UnUniFi is here today And the reason it will be here at the end of the year, and the reason UnUniFi will be here in 2024, is because of these milestones that were started and initiated in 2022, because of these key milestones. So a little bit goes a long way, however long that may feel, or however long we may feel like we're waiting. Our year in review, our year in 2022 was amazing. Was amazing, right? From the key partnerships, like I said, to the seed raise, to successfully testing version 1 of the platform, the POC. I mean, we can talk about that for a very long time. For anyone in the audience who's not 100% familiar with the POC V1, right? POC stands for proof of concept. And essentially what it does is it allows us to test the different functionalities of the marketplace app in an internal environment before we're able to release it to the public. Which is why the general public, right, and the rest of the community members were not able to fully participate in POC yet, right? Because we have to make sure that as we grow the functionalities on the application, each of them are working properly. You start with one very small part of your application, and then you build up on it in iterations. And eventually you go from having no platform to a full platform. In our case, that would be a full NFT-Fi platform, a full DeFi and NFT-Fi platform. So we go from having just one function, and you build and you build and you build upon it. And as we add new and new features to it, of course, those have to be tested as well. So we completed POC V1 in 2022 as well. We had a very successful, very insightful POC for anyone that was able to participate. A good analogy, a good analogy, uh, something to think about that's not tech related, just for kind of anyone who wants to build a successful or sustainable business, a good company, is starting at that foundation, right? Making sure that your foundation layer is rock solid, and starting with just one aspect of your full idea, right? Starting with just a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of the full platform, right? Because if you start with everything all at once, you get nowhere. But if you start with just one part and then you build upon it, it will grow. So I'll give you an example. I met this guy a while back who owns a successful shoe company. And when I mean successful shoe company, I mean that they sell over $1 million in shoes and boots online, right? But before he started, the first thing he did was he actually started selling socks online, right? And you can go, okay, well, how can anyone make millions of dollars selling socks? It sounds impossible. But he did it because he started with a very small proof of concept for what he wanted to do, a very small kind of feedback, uh, where he was able to test his idea, test his business, and then grow it from there. So this is why the proof of concept is this part of the testing is so important. And I think a lot of the community members don't really understand that because they haven't been able to participate in the proof of concept marketplace yet, right? They haven't been able to kind of participate in that. And I also understand that, probably when we do release that like next version of the proof of concept, we will have people who are just kind of looking for the prize. But the value is not the prize in participating in the proof of concept. The value is making UnUniFi as a company, as a business, grow and more sustainable so that we can add functionality to the app, and so that each successive version of the product, of the platform, of the marketplace can grow in size and in scale so that we can, again, develop something that's sustainable and successful. So that's why I spend a lot of time talking about the proof of concept, the POC, because it's kind of, for anyone who's in the community who didn't really get a chance to pay attention, it kind of came and then went, right? It was very here very quickly, and then it was kind of over. But for us, the POC is huge. It's one of the most important things that we're kind of doing in the background right now in order to help test. So in regards to POC v2, we have added functionality, right? Where now on this version of the marketplace, we can start to test some of the NFT-Fi functionality, start to test some of the new bidding mechanism on the marketplace as well. And again, use that opportunity, use that feedback to grow the protocol, to grow the application, to scale it. So that when the next version, right, which we hope to have, say POC v3, where the rest of the community can participate, or a similar idea to something like that, we will have a platform, a marketplace that can be tested, and that would be a huge, huge thanks to, again, the developers, but also to internally the moderators that have been helping as well. Um, Especially, huge thanks to the moderators who continue to remain active and support throughout this time as we're building, because the building can feel like it's taking a long time. But for anyone who understands why we're building it and the way we're building it, and again, in the focus on taking a while in order to build something sustainable, I have to say I do appreciate all the moderators for their help on that. What else do we have here? So do we also have our bubble no code modules, right? So helping to build that decentralized front end by integrating the front end into Bubble, which is a no code app, is huge for us, especially, right? It's always something that we've talked about, the value of the decentralized front end. And I shared some posts in the Discord the other day about OpenSea, actually, which went down on January 6th. Now, for anyone who saw there, for anyone who remembers, OpenSea is this huge, 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 again, it's the largest NFT marketplace, and it was down for a total of 3 hours. On average, OpenSea makes about $500,000 in trading volume. And so when you multiply it over 3 hours, right, we're talking about over, or at minimum, at least $1.5 million lost in trading opportunity across the entire NFT market. That is not a great sign for, the idea of decentralization, that, $1.5 million, there's a reliance on OpenSea. And that comes back to their reliance on a centralized front end. And so you take that concept, and how do you fix it? You fix it through the creation of decentralized front end integration, right? Building and taking the extra time to build on a no code app such as Bubble, so that anyone, whether that's a community member, someone who's never coded before, a developer, can feel empowered to build on UnUniFi, to build their own front end. We're taking that extra step for the purpose and for the safety, right? For the value of decentralization. So again, something that we don't really see a lot of, other, for example, L1s on Cosmos doing. Um, Personally, I don't and again, I could be wrong, but I don't know off the top of my head of any other Cosmos based L1, right? Any app chains that are integrating into Bubble, right? And so when we did it, we had to do it from scratch, right? So the integrating COSM WASM functionality, right? Integrating IBC functionality, and in doing that all in Bubble uh, takes up a lot of time, but again, it speaks to the values of our founders and the focus on decentralization, right? Of kind of giving access to this technology for everyone. Huge. I think when we take a look at that and we can kind of understand that they're going a step and beyond to create something that's fair and available for the community, for the Cosmos ecosystem at large. Again, something that's just huge, and we kind of forget about it as time goes on, right? So that's the importance, right, of taking a look back at the 2022 year, right, our year in review, because if we look at the graphic, there's only like 8 bullet points on here, uh, but they're 8 really important bullet points that, again, like I said, will help to dictate where UnUniFi goes in 2023 and beyond, right? This is the foundation that is being laid right now to create something that is, again, sustainable, to create, when you're building a house, the foundation is the most important part. It has to be rock solid. And so right now you're in the foundation stage, right? Where the basics are being built out. And I think that's kind of one of the most important things to consider. Now, before I move on, did anyone have any questions or comments or concerns about kind of anything that I've talked about so far? About the year in 2022, about, you know, any of these little aspects? If not, we can take some time to talk about kind of looking ahead. Okay, so looking ahead for 2023, we actually made some updates to our roadmap. And I'm sure a couple of people noticed that. And the reason why we did this is because, again, we're focused on making our progress sustainable, right? So we're thinking ahead, we're taking the time to kind of digest the current market situation, digest the development progress that has been made in 2022, and look ahead, right? Say, okay, what do we value here, and how do we build, again, sustainable protocol? Question from Mr. Orange. Are there plans for a new testnet? No, we're on mainnet, so there's no new testnet. I see two typing, so I'll just hold off before I continue. No, okay. All right, continuing along. So we recently updated our roadmap and expectations for the year 2023. And as I'm sure a couple of you have noticed, it's been changed a little bit. But again, we did this because of a focus on, we took a reflection, we took time to look at where we've come and how do we build UnUniFi to be sustainable for the year 2023, right? In prioritizing the most important parts of our development, and then also focusing on making a unified protocol, again, a long-term, successful, sustainable blockchain. Well, actually, Savi, I'm working on the roadmap right now. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But thank you for your question. He asked, when will we see complete project? So right now, if we take a look at the updated roadmap, and I'll share the link if nobody has it, a couple of changes have been made. And the first is that right now we're focusing on bringing to market the DeFi tech that powers on Unified Protocol. Right? So, for example, right now in Q1 2023, there's a focus of the interchain yield aggregator functionality that helps to bring auto DeFi yield to any users on the platform. Before we go and initiate full question about uh, the updates in 2022. Oh, I think you might have just joined because we just spent like 10 minutes talking about that, Doombringer. So you can listen to the recording later because I just covered kind of the updates in 2022. And we also posted in the chat a little bit above your message the year in review for 2022. So looking ahead at 2023, right? The focus is on bringing the DeFi functionality first. And there's a couple of reasons why. The first and foremost is that because the underlying tech is DeFi based, right? Because we have functionality that's separate from, for example, NFT trading, we need to ensure that the DeFi side of the protocol is working properly. And the only way we can do that is through building it now as quickly as possible and then using the time to test it and make sure it's working properly, right? The last thing anyone ever wants to do is take a piece of DeFi technology, right? Um, and then release it to the public without extensive testing, right? We have to make sure that it's working properly. So that's, for example, why the interchain yield aggregator is being worked on concurrently with other sides of the protocol, right? So as we kind of take our POC version 2, right, where we are doing the proof of concept again, it's invitation only for this round. What we're doing is on that end, we're able to test out V2 of the marketplace, which includes new functionalities like the bidding mechanism and collateralization. And then on the other side, developers are also simultaneously at the exact same time working on the interchain yield aggregator functionality, right? And we have things on the roadmap like enabling COSM WASM on mainnet and also working on our derivatives module, which we'll talk a little bit later in the future and spend some more time on that side as well. So there's a focus on bringing the DeFi tech first, ensuring it works. And then once that is completed, we can focus on integrating fully with the NFT-Fi side. So that's why we're focused on the DeFi side first, right? You want to make sure that's working properly before we can integrate it into full NFT-Fi. As a result of that, a couple of the dates on our roadmap have been changed around. And as some of you may have noticed, that does include the token listing. Now, for anyone who has been here for longer than a week or longer than a few days, has understood that the token listing date has been subject to market conditions. And again, there's a few reasons why, but ultimately it's because we need to make sure that for the success of the protocol, for the success of the platform, but also for the success of the token, that all steps are taken correctly and in order. As our founder Kimura said earlier today, right? He posted in the general chat, token listing is not the end goal for the protocol, right? The first and the most important goal, the final goal, is developing a great protocol. Token listing is a small aspect of that larger scale picture, right? When we look at the roadmap, token listing is not the most important part on the roadmap. It's a very, very small bullet point. And it comes, the reason why there's a token at all is to have a natively function coin, a currency that functions natively on the protocol, right? So it's to the benefit of the protocol, right? The token is not here to, benefit airdrop receivers or users who are looking to sell quickly without actually using the protocol. The token is here for the benefit of the protocol. And so, in the combination of the idea that our token launch is subject to market conditions, which have not been great, and is also subject to development progress, right? Development status that has been pushed back, right? So, right now on the roadmap, if you took a look at it, for example, listing on a decentralized exchange is listed on Q2 date. But again, as always, it has been to the benefit of the protocol. That is the biggest importance right here, is understanding why we are building in the order in which we are building. And it is to ensure long-term success, right? On the new roadmap, we have some dates, some information posted at 2024, right? If we do not take the necessary steps to do things in the correct and proper order, to develop in the correct and proper order, and to prioritize for the protocol, then that date for 2024 might not be there, right? So we all understand that UnUniFi is not a token, and it's not a project that's just here for the financial benefit of token holders. That is not the emphasis or the value. Really, the focus again is on building this DeFi tech, this NFT-Fi technology, building a platform, and the token is a small part in that. So yeah, so we've been making a ton of development progress so far, especially in Q1 right now, like I mentioned already. We have a lot of different things happening in the background. And so the unfortunate thing, and I will agree, is that to some of the community members who have not yet had a chance to participate in the POC, right? Who have not yet had a chance to take a look at V2 of the marketplace. To them, it may seem like there is nothing for them to look at, right? But that is because it's not there yet, right? We're building it. And especially when you build NFT-Fi tech that doesn't exist anywhere else currently, right? Some aspects of our protocol, when correctly built, will be the first place that they're actually available, right? When you're bringing a product to market, you're building it from scratch, right? Like I mentioned earlier, for example, when we integrate the front end into Bubble, we had to manually implement CosmWasm integration and IBC integration into that. That was not built before. It did not exist before UnUniFi built it. And I think the same thing will be said about other aspects of UnUniFi, other parts of the protocol that will not have existed until it has been built by us, right? And in this concept, there's a phrase you call the first mover advantage. And essentially, this idea that the person who can deliver something that does not exist, right? If that's a technology or a product, the first person who does it generally has the advantage. But the part that they missed about that is that the more important aspect is to do it properly, to make sure that the technology works. And so that's the focus here on this revamped roadmap. And I want to say thank you, Network, for sharing that in the chat. I was going to hit the link and I forgot to hit send, but it's there for anyone to check out. The roadmap is publicly available. And so that's the focus. That's why the changes have been made and the updates have been made so that you guys can not only see what our priorities are for the year 2023, but also understand the order in which we are developing and the value of why we are developing in this order. You know, there's no rush to launch. If by launching a more successful platform, a more successful marketplace, a more successful token creates a more sustainable and beneficial future, right? I think for a lot of people, if you can get over the concept that rushing to market is not sustainable for any business, then you would understand that it's actually in your benefit for us to prioritize in which the way we do. And it's not to say that, you know, I can guarantee, you know, the token will double, triple, you know, go 10x, 100x, or anything like that. Because again, that's not the main priority. But in the back of your head, you should keep in mind the idea that as we focus on correct and proper development for a sustainable protocol, the odds of success for the platform continue to grow exponentially. So there's a focus on success, there's a focus on longevity, right? And that is the main emphasis. And for anyone who is here with a belief in the platform and understanding of what we've built, they will understand that too. And that actually it goes into something that I wanted to talk a little bit about in regards to community. But before I do, I would just want to take a break again and ask, did anyone have any questions about kind of the roadmap or the token status or anything like that? Any questions at all? Now is the time to ask. Feel free before I move on to the next subject. Um, anything at all, definitely ask away. Eva Rich says, is the testnet token staking with validator still ongoing? So we are on mainnet. Remember, we are on mainnet since May of 2022. And so any tokens that you have received, whether that was from different incentives, such as the community program or testnet participation, or even if you were a moderator, for example, any tokens you've received are tokens on mainnet, right? So if you go to your UnUniFi wallet and there is a balance listed in GUU token, um, that's on mainnet, and you can go ahead and state that. Jeev Sai said, when will we get community reward? Yeah, so that's actually one of the next topics, was just kind of some of the recent updates from within the last month. And as a part of that, the on-chain upgrade was completed, right? There are a few validators that we are waiting on. However, for the most part, it was completed. And that means that the tokens earned from participation in, say, a community program or such have been distributed as well. So about yesterday evening, a couple of community members noticed that they received the tokens from the community reward, and any tokens that were received were sent out. Yes, so about the community program, I actually wanted to talk a little bit about that. That was going to be my next topic. So I'll address that in a second. Basically, there is no end date, but the community program will be changing once again. Mr. Orange. So yeah, so there's no end date currently that has been announced. If there's any changes in regards to like ending the community program, obviously we'll say that, but no, nothing currently. Okay. So kind of talking about some of the more recent updates before I move on to the community program. Um, like I said, the network upgrade was successful and that token distribution was sent out. So any rewards that have been earned have already been sent out. Now, the one thing that I do want to emphasize while we're just on the topic is that basically anything that has been sent out is final. So myself and the developers have spent a lot of time ensuring that obviously any distributions are correct, any timelines are correct. And then in regards to the community program, making sure that the rewards were correct. What that means is that we're never going back in the past to redo something that's passed. So like, you know, testnet was completed and we're on mainnet in May 2022. We're never going back to testnet in that sense, right? There will be like beta mainnet or things like that, other aspects where the tech is being tested, right, and added to mainnet in intervals. But aside from that, we're not going back in time. So any tokens that were previously earned have been distributed or in the past, and any for example, testnet earnings, that's in the past. Sometimes we get questions about, will you ever do testnet participation, like, token airdrop again or something like that? Or somebody, sometimes we still get people complaining about missing the testnet distribution. That's all in the past. And in regards to community program rewards that have been distributed, that's also in the past. So we're never going to go back and redo an airdrop that somebody missed in March of 2022. That just does not make sense. So just want to make sure that's also put out there while we're on that topic. Um, and then yes, Eva Rich, looking at the upgraded roadmap, but also make sure to check out the white paper. And also, I would say for you, if you're not very technical, to kind of check out the blog, our Medium. I'll post a link on that as well, because there's a lot of informative articles on the UnUniFi Medium that talk about our platform, that talk about what we're building, talk about the marketplace. Uh, Again, it really is an entire platform. There's not just one aspect. The word NFT-Fi encompasses a lot of things. And so sometimes when you tell people UnUniFi is an NFT-Fi, platform, for example, they assume that we are only giving lending, right? We're only issuing lending, for example, to NFTs. And that's just a tiny part of it. There are other aspects to it too, right? There is DeFi technology being built. So, for example, the interchain yield aggregator, that is being built currently, right? The other DeFi tech that I talked about a couple of minutes ago, that is unrelated to NFTs. Anyone can use the interchain yield aggregator. And because it's an interchain yield aggregator that eventually will be, supported with Cosmos IBC, when I say anyone, I mean really anyone can take advantage of that. So it has no direct relation to NFTs, for example. And that's something to keep in mind too, is that, UnUniFi does have use cases for holders, or I mean for participants who might not own NFTs. I think a lot of people in the Discord may have this idea, and I might be wrong, but I think a few people have this idea that if you don't own NFTs, then there is no way you can benefit from the UnUniFi protocol. And I think that's wrong. There are still all of these other pieces of technology that you can use, like the auto DeFi yield. You can earn automatic DeFi yield on your currencies. That has nothing directly to do with NFTs. So if I'm a person who doesn't have any NFTs, I can still take advantage of that, right? So these different functionalities are still very valuable. And that's why I talk about them with such importance, because they also have their place in the market, and they also have their own kind of use cases for different people. Um, Question about becoming a moderator. Yeah, so we are going to hold, and I will release an announcement after a couple of changes are done internally. We're going to hold a new moderator voting period in this month. And basically what that means is all of the current moderators will be outgoing, and then the community and also core team will be able to vote in new moderators into the moderator program. Now, the biggest thing for the moderator program is not how often you can talk in Discord. Uh, we're not looking for, people who can just talk in Discord all day. While that is very beneficial, the being a moderator for UnUniFi is a little more important. It means you have an understanding of the entire platform, right? That you have read the white paper, that you understand what is being built. So when someone comes into, for example, the Spanish community, and they ask, what is UnUniFi about? Or what is UnUniFi building? Can you explain it to me? That's, I think, one of the most important roles or aspects of the moderator is kind of having a value for the tech that UnUniFi is building, and then also understanding it so that you can explain it to others, right? So that you can help community members also understand it. So I would just make a note about that, is that anybody who's interested in the next moderator voting period, stay tuned for the announcement, and make sure you do your reading. Make sure you do a little preparation, because I think it's only fair for us to be kind of strict about the moderator roles, because we usually have a lot of applications for the moderator roles, and the some of the applicants are people who themselves have not read the white paper or not have taken time to understand the value of UnUniFi. And I think for this next moderator period, the voting period is going to be a little stricter, so that we can make sure to really get into people, or at least elect moderators who have a real passion for understanding. Okay. So, yeah, basically, as we talk about updates for the month, we're talking about, for example, PoC v2, which internally will be starting soon. Cryptani, I believe, asked about that earlier. Then the moderator voting period, which again, will be releasing announcements as we go along. And then the other part would be updates to the community program. So I want to take a moment to talk about the community program. The community program was always designed to support the most passionate community members and reward them directly for their valuable contributions. When we switched to the Crew 3 platform, we had a lot of community members who were focused on the number of contributions they can make as opposed to the quality of contributions that they can make. And their goal was not how can I help UnUniFi, but instead their goal was how can I gain as much XP as possible. And as a result of that, we had a lot of bad actors who were intentionally trying to manipulate the community program in their favor. And it took a lot of time, and we're still tweaking the Crew 3 dashboard to this day, changing how it works in small iterations to kind of make sure that the people who are making valuable contributions get noted. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on that even more this year, going into this month, January, and into the new year. We're going to focus on that even more, right? The goal for someone participating in the community program, you should be asking yourselves, how can I help build and support UnUniFi in my efforts, right? And so we had, for example, a lot of people who were focused on gaming the system as opposed to supporting UnUniFi. People who would, spam tweets, for example, or things like that. But when you ask them to support the UnUnified Twitter or be active in Discord, other aspects that are important, they would not. And I'll give you an example of this. The other day we talked about the OpenSea marketplace, how it went down for 3 hours, which is really big, again, because this is the largest NFT marketplace in the world. And they have a centralized front end. So when OpenSea loses out on the opportunity for $1.5 million in volume, in trading volume, that affects the entire NFT marketplace, right? That is something that is huge news. And it happens fairly often. It does happen pretty often. And that's again because of their reliance on a centralized front end. That's a limitation of the centralized front end. Now, anyone who has been with us since last year knows that we have focused on the decentralized front end, right? Building through multiple front ends, the ability to support multiple marketplaces in order to avoid that exact same problem. And now the issue is that there's a lot of community members who do not understand or who do not care about this aspect. So, $1.5 million lost from the entire NFT market. And UnUniFi is directly building a solution to that problem. And when we ask the community to come and support, right, to get the word out about decentralized front ends, I only saw a few community members actually understand the value or actually take the time to read through what was being posted. Not many others read through what was posted. But then we have the same community members who are trying to kind of game the community program. And so for that, I say, our focus now in the new year is going to be on building and supporting, right? We're going to be paying attention directly to the efforts of various community members to build and support UnUniFi and reward them for it. We're not going to reward community members for spam or for spamming in chat, for example, things like that have been an issue in the community program before. So yeah, I say, this is especially starting now in 2023, now's a good time to start over in that aspect. And we're going to focus on making sure that the community members who do reward, who do kind of take time to support us are the ones who are earning from the community program. So what does building and supporting mean? Let's take a step back and we'll talk a little bit about that idea. Building and supporting is this concept where your goal should be to be a kind of advocate for UnUniFi first, right? What I want to do and what I think is fair to the community members themselves, is to have someone who is a community member or supporter first and who is directly trying to help build or promote or support UnUniFi, and then as a result of their efforts be rewarded. And that's much better than having someone who is only trying to earn results and is only saying their support because they want to earn rewards or tokens or things like that. Right? So what does building and supporting means? It means that you're staying active in the UnUnified Discord. You are posting in the UnUnified Discord. You're in general chat talking. You're taking time to read new articles when we post them, read updates to the protocol when we post them. When events are being posted, you're attending these events. You're asking questions. When UnUniFi is tweeting on Twitter, you are supporting us on Twitter by liking and retweeting and commenting. Uh, it's very fun. I'll give you an example. I have someone, and I'm not going to say their name specifically. I had someone who, the other day, has been very active on Crew 3 program for UnUniFi and is never active in the UnUnified Discord, right? So they're not an active community member, but they are trying to earn as many token rewards as they can from the community program. And that's the same person who, when they noticed that the token launch was postponed, got very upset and started sending DMs and posting in UnUniFi about the token listing being postponed. I'm sorry, but we do not want to support community members who are kind of operating in that way, where they are aggressively demanding tokens. Uh, and we had to, for example, ban another member from the community program because of their behavior. Um, where they were talking poorly about core team, and on top of that, I noticed that they were trying to game the Crew 3 dashboard, where they were trying to claim quests over and over that they had not completed in order to try and earn token rewards. And when I confronted them about this and asked them to, make sure that you are not trying to cheat the system because it's unfair to other community members, they said, this is my job, I'm trying to earn money. No, we're not here for that. We're not here to support, airdroppers or yeah, like Daj just said in general chat, airdroppers always done. I agree. We're not here to support that. What we are here is to support the UnUniFi supporters. So anyone who's an UnUniFi supporter, who again is making valuable contributions to the community, right? Who is participating in Discord and is active on Twitter. Those are the people who will be rewarded by the community program. Uh, I want there should be a focus on supporting the community as well, being active in the UnUnified Discord, right? If you are trying to claim rewards from the community program, but then you are never active in Discord, commenting or posting in Discord, then really you're not a member of the community, right? And so we want to support the people who are trying to make valuable contributions and are real supporters of the community. I think those are the guys who deserve to earn, who deserve to participate and earn in the community program. So I'm definitely focused on trying to make the community program more fair. And going forward, that means that we're going to be banning people from the community program who are trying to cheat and game the system. We are going to be removing people who are not being actively supportive in the community or active participants. And we're going to change the reward structure to make sure that valuable contributions are always earning more than quantity, right? Uh, the focus again is on building and supporting, right? I'll give you another example. Uh, the other day on Twitter, we had someone who posted something along the lines of like, when token launch. And we had a community member from here who I've seen participating in the community program comment on the Twitter and say, something along the lines of like, never, right? Which I understand it could be funny, as a joke, but in public on Twitter, that is where we need your support from the community. So there are a lot of community members who remain active. I talk to a lot of you. My Discord direct messages are always full, always full. I wake up every day and I have maybe 15 or 20 messages from different community members here in the Discord. And I love that because it tells me who cares, it tells me who is paying attention, it tells me who is being active. So for you guys, I am here to support you, right? That's what we're here. That's what the word community means, right? Is that we're here for each other. We take the time together to learn and support together. So that's the main focus is being able to reward those real community members who are real and supportive. And in addition to that, I don't think it makes sense for the community program to issue max rewards to poor contributions, right? Or to poor contributors. So we're going to be paying attention to that right now. And if it makes sense that the max reward is not issued, then that's something that we're going to be doing in order to ensure that, again, we are really supporting the real community, right? And I think over time, what we're going to see here is something really amazing. And what's going to happen is that as the airdroppers leave and as some of the supporters leave and the people who comment when token and when token launch all the time, as they get a little impatient and they leave, I think the real community, I think the real supporters are going to shine through, and those are the guys that we're going to support. We're going to support you back, and we're going to make sure that as a community, that word community means something, that we can support each other and focus on growing on Unify together. And just, yeah, that's something that I'm going to focus on. I also want to start spending some time for maybe community members who want to support, and this kind of answers your question, Jeev Savi. For community members who want to spend more time supporting on UnUniFi, but maybe they don't really know how or they don't have any ideas, I want to spend some more time chatting with you guys so I can understand, and then also spend some time to kind of teach you guys a little bit more, maybe different strategies or different things we can do together as a community to support on UnUniFi. So that's the big thing on my mind right now is how do I, in light of all of the announcements today, how do I find the real community members and support them? That's going to be the big difference. Um, yeah, I did. Does anyone have any questions about this? Because I know we have a bunch of changes that'll be kind of taking place all at the same time. And I want to make sure that if there's any questions, I can answer them for you guys. If anyone wants to chat on stage as well, if you just want to ask your question in person, feel free to raise your hand. You could raise your hand, you could join the stage, you can chat, in general chat. Be happy to answer questions. I think I have spent enough time talking about everything, so I want to kind of listen to you guys and see what's on your minds, see what other people are focused on.